All right, so let's record. What we're going to be doing today is just introducing this concept of written communications. So we spent a lot of time in the last couple weeks. The first three chapters, we looked at the help desk and how do we have an effective and efficient an effective help desk. Then we looked at the need that people have to communicate. So that was our chapter two, was how important it is to communicate, and we underlined the importance of understanding each other, and that's very much necessary in a service desk. Then chapter three, we talked about telephone communications, because that actually can make up a lot of a service desk work, would be telephone communications. And so this lesson is carrying on from that, which is our written communications. Now, I should say that this area is sort of changing kind of fast because of changes in technology. Whereas before, things were just sort of email, maybe. What's happening now is people are using all kinds of tools like we're using now, Zoom meetings, instead of other interactions that they might have had. So, maybe for our communication, we should include something like Zoom meetings or something, because that seems to be the way people are communicating nowadays. But on a service desk, there's lots of other ways of communicating, which include written communications. But the main one is this idea of using a ticket, and you saw that in the first lab that you did, where you actually had to create a ticket, which was a telephone ticket. And so that's one of the main ways that we have of communicating, and that actually works in with, for example, email. But you'll find that modern, when I say modern, like in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what we're seeing is coming up in service desk technology is other forms of written communication are being pushed out. So people are actually using like social media, Twitter and Facebook, um, Messenger, to communicate, WhatsApp, to communicate for professional uses. So, for example, in a service desk. And so, yeah, keep that in mind, that your written communications may look just like what we're doing here in our class. It's not going to be PowerPoints and stuff like that, right? And Word documents, although some of it will be. All right. So that's a point there, right, about our technical support organizations. The communication that we have is changing quite quickly. Now, this technical writing is a discipline in itself. You can do a course at university or college on technical writing. You may be doing one now. I mean, in your communications course, you probably touched upon technical writing. How do we write technical documents? If you have, then keep those things in mind. They apply to this particular part of the course. Um, and so as you see there, we did mention telephone, but telephone actually comes with text, doesn't it, nowadays? So WhatsApp, for example. And so not everything that's with the telephone is going to be voice communication. But having said that, I mean, with WhatsApp or Signal, people are moving to Signal now too. There has been a move away from WhatsApp, and some of the traditional tech giants are finding they're now starting to get a bit of competition. And one of the reasons why is because people have sort of discovered that the tech people, so this is the way it's been put: is you have this service which seems to be free. There's no such thing as a free service, right? So if it seems that this service is free, well, what's probably happening is that you are the product. And what that means is, so for example, Facebook, WhatsApp, these other Twitter and other social media like that, they're sharing, they're gathering information about the users, and they share that to make money. And we know that because, so for example, if you make a post to somebody on your Facebook and you say, oh, I really like that that new Suzuki, 450 motorcycle, then pretty soon you'll receive a message on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, which will have a picture of that one and where you can buy it. So that's that's the modern thing. So why am I mentioning that? Not only are they using it to make money, but we're talking about an IT service desk. We could be using that to communicate with our customers as well. So, I mean, theoretically, if you were using 4G or 5G communications with your connected devices, which has now become affordable, you don't have to be stuck in a room with fiber connected to your computer in order to be accessing the cloud. So you could be sitting at the beach at Sea Line or whatever, and you could be managing tickets on your system because your system is running through a cloud server. And so, I mean, that's the way it is today. So I guess the issue with that is that it could lead to sort of a relaxed sort of attitude and unprofessional sort of delivery of those communications. I mean, if we all go sort of the WhatsApp way, and people are using uh, how do I say it? Yeah, instead of typing you, they put the letter U, and you know what I mean. That's a very short way of writing things that people do. They did for Twitter because you only got 250 characters or something like that. Now, of course, in WhatsApp you got more than that, but what I mean is those types of things that we tend to do with our friends online. We kind of have to be a little careful when we start doing that on the service desk. And I'm saying this in all seriousness. You could be on the service desk using WhatsApp with your customers. You could be on the service desk using Signal with your customers, or even Messenger or Twitter. Some companies are actually using Twitter. So, but you need to differentiate your professional sort of WhatsApp communications with your friends. OMG, all that stuff. You probably want to sort of dial that back a bit. LOL. That's it's going to be hard, but um, now, having said that, I mean, I don't know. I'm an old guy. I'm 64. You guys are like in your 20s, and maybe that's going to be okay. How do I know? But I mean, at the moment, I would say that you have to be kind of careful with your professional communications. Yeah. All right. So, what's this one here? Proactively meeting customer needs. I got a chat message. What's that? You oh, thank you. That's so kind. Yeah. So, more chats. Oh, yeah. There you go. I've fooled you guys. Um, technology. Now I've lost my train of thought, and I'm looking at these on the because you guys are saying kind things about me. It's making me forget what I'm supposed to be saying to you. Yeah, that's correct. Um, All right. So about our communications on the service desk, I guess the thing that I want to underline there is sort of keeping that professional, and that's going to pay you back. Uh, going to pay you back in the end with that. So I'm just sort of the technology. I mean, the main point here is don't let the technology get between you and the customer. The technology has to sort of improve that relationship with the customer, and that's why we have to go to the place where the customer is using things like WhatsApp, etc. Because that's what maybe it's going to be the easiest way. I mean, people. Okay, I'm not trying to sell you WhatsApp. I mean, I've gone to Signal, but we're using WhatsApp in the class here, right? But um, why do we want to use that? Well, everybody's likes that, and people like it because wherever they're sitting, they probably have a Wi-Fi connection, and so they're borrowing their connection to the internet, right? It costs them nothing, right? All they need is a Wi-Fi adapter. Now, there's a trade-off there because you're giving a little bit of a security issue there. You don't know what's this. I mean, no, to be fair, I mean access points for your Wi-Fi are generally encrypted. That's encrypted information. But there are attacks that people can make on your security from the person that has configured that Wi-Fi um, access point could be theoretically could be looking at the packets as they go through. But generally speaking, we do implement encryption on the data between the network and the device. And WhatsApp, yes, WhatsApp, that's end-to-end encrypted. I mean, so other communications, maybe not so much, but WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted, and that's why people like it. And so, yeah, that's kind of good, I guess. Right. So I mean, I'm not going to go through all of this and read the words off. I mean, you can see the slides. I've made those and I've spoken to them on the one that has the sound with it. But here, I'm just going to sort of make a few points as I go. I do like this pyramid. I do like this pyramid. The idea being there is a lot more data than there is information, than there is knowledge, than there is wisdom. So wisdom at the top, a lot less of it. The other point that you should get from that is that information is built upon data. Data is the base on which information is developed. A definition of information that comes from the accounting people, and they actually refer to their systems as information systems. But the accounting people say that information is useful for decision making. And so what you do is you take some data and you process it in such a way that somebody can use it to make decisions. And then you can call that information. And so all kinds of processing we can do with data. We can sort it. We can extract parts of it. We can filter it. And as we do that, we improve its value. And so if you look at that pyramid, the stuff at the top is of the highest value, obviously, and stuff at the bottom is lower value. But we still need that stuff at the bottom because we can't get the stuff at the top without it, right? Um, so knowledge is going to be based on the idea there is if you have observed a lot of information over a lot of time and you have synthesized that is brought different things together in a single whole, that you would call knowledge. And wisdom would be like that, except analysis applied to it, right? You'd have to say something totally abstract approaching onto that, and that will bring us wisdom, and that's what we hope for. So I think that is why you see in organizations, young people, a lot of them are really, really, really smart, and they might have a lot of knowledge, but the wisdom sort of requires a little bit of sort of sitting back and thinking on things, and thinking on a lot of wider things. Just a thought. Um, so yeah, the self-service idea, you guys, I'm just going to refer to an example of that, which is our college example, and hopefully you'll get to understand what we mean by our self-service by that. You guys go to PeopleSoft and you check out your grades, right? You go to D2L and you check out what your course is going to be for today, and you check out how your grades again on the Dropbox or on the quizzes area. So this is a self-service area. I mean, theoretically, as a teacher, I could leave the whole course up there on D2L and sort of automate it, like on every week, a new part of it could be opened up, especially now that it's COVID and people aren't coming to college. I mean, I'm sitting here in the classroom. This is a classroom, and I'm by myself. I got no problem with that. I mean, you don't have to come. But I was just saying we're in a different world than we were, right? And so theoretically, we could automate this quite a bit, and you guys could just go to your self-service, which would be D2L and PeopleSoft. Unfortunately, we haven't integrated those correctly yet, although the college is looking at that, integrating into a single information system. That'll really help us a lot because then the students will only have to go to one place to find their information. They won't have to look at D2L and PeopleSoft to see their grade, and it'll be better for the teachers because we'll only have to enter the grade once. But so those are that's our example. The example I'm going to give to you of a self-service. You go to the College of the North Atlantic website, and from there you check all kinds of things that are related to your being at the college. I mean, so you go and press one thing, and that gets you your grade book, and you see that, and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, okay. So what am I going to do today? Then from the same panel, you can see your schedule for the day, and you go, oh yeah, I got to do that today. Okay, so now I'll open up D2L, and there's even a bright, what do they got, bright space or whatever, sort of button that you can press there and go there as long as you're not using Windows Explorer. Uh, Not Windows Explorer, sorry. As long as you're not using Internet Explorer, you can get onto D2L because D2L doesn't support Internet Explorer. You have to use Google or Firefox or something. So you can then go to your D2L and do the rest of your work. And yeah, so that is self-service in our example. Okay, and so somebody wants to say something. I can hear somebody. Yeah, all right. So the internet, I'm not going to say too much about that. That's the world we live in, is the internet. So hopefully that is obvious to you that that's where we are and that's what's happening. Not only is it sort of easier for everybody to access the internet, but it's easier to actually create content on the internet. So we've got all these tools that make it easier. You may have done a course here in website development, and you were writing a lot of HTML and CSS stuff, and that was all kind of fun. And then somebody showed you these tools that will make a website for you, in like 35 seconds, like WordPress or Google site or whatever, and so it can be. It's not hard for people to get sort of going on the internet with some kind of thing, and it's not expensive. At one point it was a little expensive, but now it's really quite cheap. So there's yeah, everybody's on it. Everybody's doing stuff on it. I mean, I'm gonna make a YouTube video out of this, and at the end of this, and it's gonna take me like 30 seconds to do that. My 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 daughter makes uh, so I'm going to mute people. You can unmute yourself if you want to, but my daughter makes YouTube videos, and my son used to, and sometimes they share them. They have little. So I mean, everybody's using these tools to create content, and some of it's good, and some of it's not. I don't know. Anyways, I think I'm gonna yeah, so this is not a great example, but it is an example of a self-service website. I think the example that we have using our College North Atlantic one is probably one that's more um, useful to you. And I so many nice self-service websites. So personally, I use Matrash too as a self-service website if you want to sort of get an idea of one that's really, really useful. You guys are kind of young, so we've talked about age here a little bit already, but I've been in the Middle East for a couple of decades, and when I first came out here, being a foreigner and things are in a different language, it was kind of hard to navigate things. And you could spend like a half day down in various government offices doing things. You can still do that a little bit, but a lot of that you can avoid by using Matrash too, right? I mean, so Matrash too, you can do all kinds of things, right? You can even sell a car right through Matrash too. Last two cars that I updated the Istamara. So I went down and actually one that I did last year. I didn't even have to go and do the technical inspection because of the COVID thing, right? They closed down the technical inspections, but they're open now again. But basically, I was able to do everything online. And then 2 weeks later, this delivery guy comes by with my Istamara. So yeah, it's a lot better than standing in a big line. And so what that means is the big lines are kind of gone, right? I mean, so you can go down to the traffic department and do stuff, and the line's not there because a lot of people were doing it online. So the only thing they're going down to the traffic department for is the stuff that they couldn't do online. And so I mean, it's good for the traffic department and it's good for us. Oh, another example of that was a month ago. They did a census in Qatar, and the census, there's a guy walking around with papers given to people, right? And he came to my house, and I said, "Well, I've already done that." And he had, I guess, 4G or 5G or whatever, and so he's able to check on his database. He says, "Oh, can I have your Qatar ID number?" Oh, yes, I see you've already done it. Yeah, because I got my trash too, and my trash too. They sent me a little message and said, here, click this link and do the census. And 20 minutes later, it was done. It's awesome. You can do that stuff without sort of driving around town, without having to sort of stand in lines. So that's our new way of living. As I said, you guys wouldn't be familiar with the old way, but it wasn't so great. And this is your job into the future, I suppose. The what you are doing by coming to the college, I imagine, is you're trying to get a bit of a head start on everybody else because everybody's going to be using all the technology. But if you have a bit more um, expertise in it, then you're going to be in demand for all of those technology solutions. So, I mean, in you guys doing this course, yeah, you could be software or hardware, but definitely if you're hardware, you're going to be sort of doing have an opportunity to be sort of doing some kind of service desk stuff. It's a big part of it. I think I shall stop at that point. If you want to see some more on the information on this.